So do you remember when you were younger and somebody said to you, "What are you doing?" And you said, "Nothing." Well, it seemed to be okay when you were a kid, right? But once you got older, you really felt compelled to say that you were doing something. Well, today I'm going to say that if you want to be healthier and have less stress, learn how to do nothing. And I'm going to show you 5 ways today to do nothing, have stillness, and not feel guilty. And just before I get into this, I want to show you where I am right now, because we made 3/4 of our garage into a retro cabin. So you can see that we've got darts here, we've got a lot of games and that sort of thing. And this is the place where I can just sort of hang out and do absolutely nothing. But I know you want to get into the video, so let's start with tip number 1. Know that it's okay to just be, and not be doing something all the time. And of course, while you're in your stillness, also remember, don't feel guilty. You really need this to rejuvenate and refresh. And as most of you know, I had a big birthday lately, and I was excited about it, but I kept thinking, am I going to go to a big city? Am I going to go to a tourist attraction? What am I going to do? You know what? I decided I'm just going to go to a spa resort up north. And before we booked everything, I thought to myself, what am I going to do when I'm up there? And I decided I'm not going to have a massage. I'm not going to book a canoe trip. I'm not going to book, one of those treetop walks or zip lining or anything like that. I booked nothing. And I thought to myself, I'm going to get one of those little cabins by the lake where it's really secluded. And all I could think of myself doing was just being still, doing nothing, looking out the window, looking at the ducks going by, looking at nature going by, and just relax and rejuvenate. So on my actual birthday, we went and had breakfast at the inn, and then we came back. I sat on the bed, and Bill said, "So what do you want to do?" And I said, "Nothing." He kind of looked kind of confused. We're paying big money for this resort, but he went, okay, he's a great guy. And so he said, okay, and then he went for a walk. He started exploring, things at the inn. And I just sat on the bed and I just felt so relaxed. Then my phone started ringing with all kinds of birthday messages, and these people actually wanted to talk to me. They weren't texts. And I was talking to a dear friend that I've known since I was 6, another one that's a dear friend I've known for a while, over 20 years now. Friends, family were calling. And I had the time to actually really listen to them, to really talk to them. And it's something that I don't do when I'm on a schedule. It's like, yeah, well, we're in the middle of filming right now. You're always busy, right? And one of my friends I talked to for an hour, it was just so beautiful. And this is something that I think we all need. And even though I was doing something, I was talking to people on the phone, it was really not on a schedule, not on a to-do list, and I absolutely enjoyed it. And then all of a sudden, I looked out at the patio. There was Bill. He was sitting out there. I don't know how long he was sitting there for, but he was doing nothing. And I looked at my watch. It was 3 p.m. And then we went, okay, time to do some stuff. Let's go swimming. Let's enjoy some of the surroundings. And I enjoyed them from a state of calm. And so that's what tip number 1 is all about. Put yourself in a real state of calmness, stillness, and just do nothing without the guilt. I really hope that you drifted off with me with my story and realized how doing nothing was really good medicine for me, and I didn't feel stressed or anything like that. Now I do have to-do lists, but that brings me to tip number 2. Have a to-be list. What's a to-be list, Heather? Well, instead of doing on the to-do list, you're just being. So as I mentioned to you, I was just sort of sitting on the bed and I was looking out the window. I was still talking to people with their birthday wishes, so I was doing something, but I was in such a relaxed state. So you might have on your to-be list, I think this is a good one, write in a gratitude journal. Write down all the things that you're thankful for that day. I'm not a big believer in journaling for that day because I find that I go down a rabbit hole. Like, I don't know why, but I start to get into stressful things and how I'm going to help this and how I'm going to fix this. And so journaling doesn't really relax me so much. And this whole video is how to get into a state of relaxation. Another thing you might want to do is schedule a walk. Just walk around the neighborhood, look at all the manicured gardens, look at all the flowers that are coming up. Maybe say hi to a neighbor, just talk about the weather, like nothing. And if you've got a coffee shop around where you live, maybe go and try, a new kind of drink, a new kind of tea, a new kind of frozen coffee, something along those lines, and just sit at the window and people watch. It's okay. These are ways to just clear your mind and de-stress. And don't forget to, you might want to play this video back, but don't forget to make a few points here because you might want to start writing down, hey, what are my things that would be on a to-be list? Like a lot of people, they love puttering in the garden. Maybe you have one of those manicured gardens, and for you, you just don't think about anything. You just think about the beautiful flowers and what you're doing, and your mind is de-stressed during that. Which brings me to tip number 3, and that is you need to schedule this time. And for me, my scheduling for my stillness time or doing nothing time is always on a Sunday. And what I do is I don't say, okay, it's Sunday at 1 o'clock, I'm going to start to relax. No, you can't do that because then it's a to-do, right? You might find, like I find, I want to have a nice breakfast on a Sunday. I want to take care of any business that I have to take care of, quickly. And then whatever time it is, it could be 1 o'clock, it could be 3 o'clock, it doesn't really matter. But it's going to be generally on a Sunday. And you know what that does for you? It actually gives you something to look forward to because you can't have all these stresses on Tuesday and Thursday and even Friday, but you're always saying to yourself, well, you know what? On Sunday, I'm going to have that time where I can just really relax and I'm going to do this, I'm just going to putter in the garden or call some friends or whatever you're going to do. And the important thing is going to bring you to the next tip, and that's where is this place going to be where you're going to do absolutely nothing? Now for me, when it's not absolutely freezing outside, this cabin is my little getaway, and we've got air conditioning in here, we've got a little fireplace heater, and it's just a great place. But for you, it might be a part of your living room, where there's no distraction of a TV. It might just be sitting on your bed, closing the door, having that peace and quiet, and just sitting there and relaxing. And just for now, I'm just going to give you a little bit more of a glimpse of where I am right now, because if you look around, there's no distractions. It's just very, very calm. And this is the back of a garage. We renovated this. I'm going to do a video on this one day as well. But when I look out the window, all I see are trees, and the odd little bird comes to visit, and flowers. And if you can find a little place where you can even look out at trees, maybe it's just sitting under a tree in your own backyard, that could be a great place in the warmer weather to just be. And just before I get on to my next tip, I'm going to take a sip of my Earl Grey tea. Such a nice tea, Earl Grey tea. And I hope that when you come to these videos, you're kicking back as well, enjoying maybe a nice little beverage. And by the way, I would love, love, love for you to subscribe to this channel. There's a button down there somewhere. And don't forget to click on the notification bell so that you know when my videos are out. We do everything from, these heart-to-heart chats, some of the DIY projects that we've done that we really think have improved our life, as we're aging, kind of thing. Also, I'll do a lot of different wellness, exercise. There's so much coming up, and of course, inspirational videos like this, to really help us with our mindsets, right? And thank you once again for all of you who join me here every single week. But for now, let's talk about the next tip, and it's what not to do when you're doing nothing. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to turn on the TV. Like, a lot of people think that I'm doing nothing when I'm watching TV, but a lot of the series these days and the streaming series, they're very dark, right? And they draw you in. I know we just finished watching one, and it was all about crimes, and it was cold case crimes and that sort of thing. And you're more stressed by the end of it, of watching even just a couple of hours, than when you started out. So that's not a kind of a way to be. And the other thing about turning on the TV is just naturally, right? You're going to turn on the news. Another way not to be, because there's so much negativity in the news as well, and you're going to leave the TV and your moment of being more stressed than you were before. You're going to have anxiety, and that's not the idea of the whole thing. As a matter of fact, I think I've told you this before, but I stopped watching the 11 o'clock news about 30 years ago. I just found that, what am I doing this just before I go to sleep? Because I would go to sleep like, oh my gosh, the world's coming to an end, all those kind of thoughts, and I wouldn't be able to get to sleep. So now I just watch something funny, and I'll talk more. I think I'll do a video on how I go to sleep, because it is a process, and it is a problem for a lot of us, right? And anyway, not watching the news, that was a big one. So these are more things that I think that you shouldn't do when you're in my B time. And one of them is, taking a lot of alcoholic drinks while you're on that time. Also, maybe, substances and that sort of thing. Okay, I'm going to relax right now. I just think that a lot of times, for myself anyway, if I'm drinking a glass of wine, and I'm in a relaxed state, I'll pour another wine. And then I just get way too relaxed. And so I just think that when you're during this time, another thing not to do is don't be drinking and don't be using substances. Just be, because the whole idea is just to clear your mind, be distressed, and also be yourself. And please let me know in the comments if any of this is resonating with you. And also, let's share other things that you do where you're just, in stillness and that sort of thing. I'd love to know other ideas as well that really work for you. Let's take a look at that quote, all right, that I have here. And again, you might want to jot some of these quotes down, because they really help with the subjects that I'm talking about. Here's the quote. You don't always need a plan. Sometimes you just need to breathe, trust, and let go, and see what happens. And that's by Mandy Hale. And let's take a bonus tip from that quote that I just did. She said to breathe. A lot of times what I do is I will, just before I'm going into this doing nothing, I'll take some deep breaths. So what I'll do is I'll take a deep breath in, I'll hold it for 7 seconds, and then I just let it out. All right, so basically I'm bringing in calmness and I'm letting out chaos. And I'll show you what I'll do that in just a second for you. Now, I don't do it more than 3 times, because I find that if I do it more than 3 times, I get dizzy. But basically what I do is I take a deep breath in, hold for 7 seconds, breathe out the chaos, all right? And that's a great thing to do before you even start to have your stillness session. So you're putting yourself, you're helping your nervous system actually get into a more relaxed state. The other thing she mentioned was let go. And so what you need to say to yourself is, I'm just going to let go of anything that's pressing. This is going to relax my nervous system. It's going to put me into a better state. And for me, of course, a lot of you know, my saying is let go and let God. And so many times, I'm telling you, in the last few weeks, you wouldn't know it by me talking, but I've had a lot of stresses. I've had a lot of things that are stressful for me, and they're sorting themselves out now, but I had to let go of them. They were just, I was waking up with the thoughts, I was going to sleep with the thoughts, and I just can't do that. So that quote is a great one. You might want to write that one down, because, do your deep breaths, trust, and also let go. I'm talking about mind, I'm talking about body, I'm talking about our living environments. We're all on the aging journey, and we've got so many wonderful people here already. So I'd love for you to join this community and stay inspired and stay empowered. And until we meet again, don't forget to be still. Don't forget to be doing nothing. And I'll see you next week.